Right,
afternoon everybody. First off, if I can just remind you, phones either silent or vibrate. Next one is happy birthday, Kathy Scott.
Happy birthday, Kathy.
That's dedication for you. Right, on to the committee membership. I gather we've got one change today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Councillor Bill Armour, Burton Ward, substituting it seems for Councillor Donald Firth.
Right, thanks, Bill. Right, item 2 minutes of the previous meeting. Can we agree as a true record?
Yeah.
Right,
Agreed, Chair.
Sandro, thank you. Item 3, interests and lobbying. I'll start off with Councillor Pattison.
Thanks, Chair. I've received various emails and videos which I haven't been able to watch in relation to the application on Granny Lane, item 8 on the agenda.
Councillor Armour.
Yes, I've had communications about item 8, which now appears to be deferred anyway. I haven't responded to any.
Thanks, Bill. Councillor Scott.
Yes, Chair. Item 8, and I have watched the video.
Councillor Pinnock.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, item 8. I've not been able to download it.
Councillor Pinnock, can you be speaking to you?
Put your speaker down, Andrew?
Sorry. Yeah. I was eating something. I do apologise. Yes, item 8. I've had that thing, but I've not been able to open it because it caused things to crash. I've also, when I was on a site visit yesterday, item 10, Gin Lane, Honley, I spoke to a lady on site. I think her name was Ingham. I didn't express any opinion, but I think I ought to mention it. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Sokol.
Yeah, Chair. I just had an email about this application, Granny Lane, but I don't know it's a video. There was some photos, pictures sent by, I think, Andrea. I've seen those, yeah. Thank you.
Right.
But I didn't express any.
Donna Bellamy.
Yeah, item 8 received videos, emails, etc. Thank you.
Myself, I've had items about page 11 and page 57. Admission of the public meeting is we're being filmed, YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Item 5, deputations and petitions.
They're on page, yeah.
Item 6, public question time.
There's no public questions.
Right, moving to applications. First one that we have is Granny Lane, Murfield. Don't know which officer's coming in, Matthias, David or Deborah.
Chair, sorry.
I'll jump in, Deborah, just very quickly. So
Okay.
we received a very late representation, members, this week. The video that's been referred to in this in earlier conversations. The video appears to show surface water on the site. We are establishing when the video was taken, what storm it relates to, where the source of that water is coming from, and our drainage engineers and the applicant's engineers are looking into that, and there is a discussion to take place with the person who filmed that so we can understand their first-hand knowledge. And this is us listening to our communities and responding to local issues. So we suggest that it's deferred for that reason, to allow further investigations into the source of this video and where the water's coming from. And we intend to look into that, and if any changes are needed to the plans, to pick that up and to come back to a planning committee once we've resolved those matters and we've got an update for members. So that's the Granny Lane one, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthias.
Deborah Wilkes, Legal Services. We need to vote on that, Chair.
Yeah. Right, members. Kathy.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank what's been said actually there, that we're actually listening to the public. It was really interesting looking at that video, and there does appear to be some like surface water, or there's major drainage issues there. And I was going to move for a deferral after seeing it, because whatever the runoff is, there's definitely beck problems, and there's about a coping mechanism. So I'm moving to defer it, so I'll move it.
Right, thank you, Kathy.
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. So we'll go around. I think raise their hand. No, take a vote. Do you want to go around?
Yeah, members, so I'm voting on the officer recommendation of deferral. Councillor Armour?
Yes, defer.
Councillor Bellamy? Councillor Bellamy? Thank you. Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Patterson?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
Councillor Scott?
For.
And Councillor Sokol?
For.
Thank you. So items deferred.
So that, yeah, deferred. Before we go to us next item, we've got one application that we've been asked to, well, we're not being asked, it's been withdrawn, and that one is Gin Lane at Ainley, Home Firth. So, okay with that withdrawal. So we'll go back now to item 9. This is Bradford Road, East Bailey.
Sorry to interrupt again, Chair. Can I just say that there's one non-committee member observer, Councillor Martin, both in the interest of transparency and openness. Thank you.
Yeah.
And in the interest, Steve, I'll declare that I'm off now. If we're not doing Granny Lane, I'll leave you to it.
Go keep Donald company, Martin.
Cheers, Steve.
All right, see you later. Right, so item 9, Bradford Road, East Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. Just bear with me. It's Kate Mansell, Development Management Master Planner. I'm doing the first 2 items. Then I'll hand over to Fazana, who's doing the last items.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is item 9. It's an application for the erection of raised decking to the rear of 831 Bradford Road in East Brierley. The application is brought to committee as it's submitted by an elected member of Kirklees Council, Councillor Charlotte Goodwin. So this slide shows the red line boundary of the application and an aerial view of the site. It's a semi-detached dwelling on the west side of Bradford Road. The decking has already been installed, so this application is being assessed retrospectively. As you can see from the photograph, just bear with me a second, that's better. As you can see from the photograph, the rear garden is at a lower level to the house and it's accessed via steps which are located to the side of the dwelling. The decking is raised approximately 1.45 metres above the ground level of the garden. The decking projects 2.1 metres from the rear elevation of the house and is constructed along the boundary shared with the adjoining property at 829 Bradford Road. It has a width of 3.3 metres. These photographs show the decking in situ. In terms of the visual impact, the decking is relatively small in scale and is considered to result in no significant impact on the property of the surrounding area in terms of its massing height and materials. The adjoining property actually benefits from a similar development, albeit that there is no planning history for this. The impact of the development on the neighbouring properties is considered to be acceptable. This photograph is a view from the neighbour's garden from the decking. Whilst the decking would allow a degree of overlooking into the garden area of the adjoining property at 829 Bradford Road, as I've mentioned, this property has a similar decking and a similar relationship to the application property. Furthermore, the majority of the neighbouring properties' amenity space is located at a lower ground level, and officers do not consider the impact of the decking to be detrimental to their amenity. This photograph looks towards the rear of the site, and the decking would allow some overlooking of land to the rear. However, this land is greenbelt and is unlikely to be developed in the future. Consequently, the impact of the proposal is acceptable in this regard. The report before you details the officer's full assessment of the development, and it is noted that no representations from neighbouring properties have been received. For the reasons set out in the report, the development is considered to be acceptable, and it is therefore recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Kate. Nobody over. Right, colleagues, it's over to you. There's no speakers. Kathy?
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy to support this. I don't normally support retrospective planning applications, but I think in this case, there's no detrimental impact to the neighbours. The neighbours aren't objecting, so I'm happy to support this application. So I'll move it.
Thank you. Carol?
And I'll second that. I can totally understand why, excuse me, why it is retrospective. I mean, it's not the first thought for a small piece of decking that you think, oh, I need planning permission for it. So I'm quite happy to support it.
Thanks, Carol.
I will second it.
Thank you. Andrew Pinnock.
Muted, Councillor Pinnock.
Yeah, I was going to say Councillor Patterson beat me to it, but I agree. I agree with what's been said.
Right. Thanks, Andrew. Right. It's been moved. It's been seconded. We'll go to a vote.
Yeah, so we're voting on delegate to approve the application. Councillor Armour?
Yes, in favour of officer's recommendation.
Councillor Bellamy?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Patterson?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
For.
Councillor Stockhall?
For.
That's carried, Chair.
Right. Thank you. Next, we move page 65. This is the one. I'm crossed that off my list yet.
Yeah, so right in 11.
That's the one that's been withdrawn. Page 103 next. This is Burn Road, Birchencliffe, erection of 30 dwellings. I think that's Kate again.
It is. Thank you, Chair. So this is item 11 on the agenda, 2020-90942, erection of 30 dwellings and associated works at land at Ainley Top, Yew Tree Road and Burn Road, Birchencliffe. This is a full application for the erection of 30 dwellings. It relates to the parcel of land outlined in red on this plan, which is here. The site forms part of a larger parcel of land, which is edged in blue on this plan, that has planning permission for 95 dwellings. This permission is currently being built out. The 95 dwelling development is part of a wider housing allocation in the local plan. The site lies at the junction of Yew Tree Road and Burn Road, and there is a public byway along the northern boundary. This aerial photograph from 2018 identifies the site and shows its context. Development can clearly be seen to the northwest of the site here, and this part of the scheme is now largely complete. There are listed buildings towards the north, but these are separated by land that also forms part of the same housing allocation. The area of land just to the south of the red line boundary here is also part of the 95 dwelling development. This plan shows the layout that was previously approved on the site for 20 detached dwellings. The row of 10 detached dwellings you can see on the southern side of the new estate road here have already been built under the existing permission. This slide is the proposed layout for the application before you today. It is essentially a replan of the land on the northern side of the access road to provide a total of 30 houses. It comprises 17 semi-detached and terrace dwellings and 13 detached properties. It means that the overall number of dwellings on the site has increased by 10. The application has made the application has been made by the applicant following sales information on the site, which indicated a greater demand for smaller properties in the area. The mixture of house types now proposed and the associated increase in density are both considered to be benefits. The scheme delivers a more diverse housing offer to meet different needs and represents a more efficient use of land, which will boost the supply of new homes in the district. Looking at the design, the revised proposal would result in the inclusion of 2.5-storey dwellings when the original 95 dwelling scheme only included 2-storey. However, the 2.5-storey houses are located within the site in this location, comprising plots 66 to 69. This street scene illustrates how this particular house type would sit in the context of adjacent dwellings. The applicant has provided this photograph from another of their developments, which shows the proposed 2.5-storey house type on the left and their typical 2-storey dwellings on the right to illustrate what the relationship would actually look like. The increase in the number of dwellings and the inclusion of semi-detached and terraced houses does have some design impacts. These include a greater predominance of frontage parking and changes to the appearance of the prominent corner plot dwellings, which are no longer dual aspect. However, the applicant has sought to try and mitigate these issues, which is detailed in the report. Officers have weighed these matters against the wider benefits of the scheme, including the improved housing mix and density, as well as the provision of 2 affordable dwellings. It should also be noted that additional contributions would also be secured for education, open space and local highway improvements that reflect the added 10 dwellings that would be built. The proposal is acceptable from a highway safety perspective, and it does not give rise to any other materially greater impacts on the approved development. To conclude, on balance, officers consider the proposal to be acceptable and the application is therefore recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Kate. We've got one speaker, which is Josh Breer.
Okay, so we'll just mute while we dial in the agent for a moment.
Josh, you've got 3 minutes. I've got a timer here, so I'll start you off now and I'll let you know when you've got 20 seconds left.
That's grand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. Many thanks for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our application. I'm Josh Breer, the planner at Harron Homes, and will only take a small amount of your time to run through the merits of the proposal. The site forms a residential allocation, HS35, and has an existing planning permission for 95 dwellings, which we are currently in the process of building out. This particular application relates to the middle phase of development, which, as I said, has consent for 20 detached dwellings. Given we're in a significant period of change with the economic and housing market due to the effects of COVID-19, we want to future-proof the development and also meet the shift in the demand from the market by providing a wider range of house types. The proposal seeks to provide an additional 10 dwellings on this phase and a resulting housing mix consisting of 17 terraced and semi-detached and 13 detached dwellings. The proposal also delivers the required planning obligations, including 2 on-site affordable dwellings and financial contributions proportionate to those secured under the original planning permission. We would like to thank the Kirklees officers for working proactively with Harron Homes on this application through the COVID pandemic and resulting in a policy compliant scheme which provides additional affordable dwellings, a wider range of house types, and meets the changing market which we are currently working within. I hope that the councillors support the case officer recommendation and this proposal. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, it's over to you. Councillor Pinnock.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, generally I'm in agreement with the officer's recommendation. There are some comments made by the police architectural liaison officer, which I seem to remember from the update, which I've not been able to print out, that these have probably been resolved. But I have another question about the parking in front of houses. generally speaking, I'm not really very happy about that sort of thing because it requires a degree of hard surfacing, and I would just like some assurance that those hard surfaces can be mitigated by, if possible, by allowing drainage that where it doesn't drain off quickly as it would from a hard surface. Otherwise, I agree with it. I just like to have those two queries dealt with, please.
Okay, you want to come back on that?
Chair, I think Adam's going to come in actually on this one. As a case officer.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair, Adam Walker, I'm the case officer on this application. Just to pick up on the points that Councillor Pinnock's raised, the last one in terms of the parking, we can put a standard condition on there to make sure that the parking spaces are surfaced and drained in accordance with published guidance, which would mean that there would be some mitigation provided in terms of surface water to slow the rate of flow across the surface. It is inevitable with the increase in the number of houses that there is going to be extra parking to the front. We've tried to mitigate that as much as possible from a visual point of view, but yes, we can look to mitigate the extra hard surfacing from a flood risk point of view. And just picking up on the point you raised about the police architectural liaison officers' comments, that they would all be dealt with through conditions. The applicants provided a response as detailed in the update, and we've recommended 3 extra conditions to address the liaison officers' concerns. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Right, Andrew. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm going to support this application. I presume Councillor Pinnock's moved it. I noticed it was conditioned in item 12. If you haven't, I'll move the application. But it did say about parking and the surface areas to be drained. So that was a part of the condition. So I'm happy to move it or second it in that case.
Yeah, okay.
You all right moving it then, Andrew, and Councillor Scott seconding?
Yeah,
right.
That's fine, thank you.
Any more comments? No? Right, we'll go to a vote. Andrea.
Okay, so we're voting on delegate to approve with the 3 additional conditions as set out in the update. Councillor Armour?
4.
Councillor Bellamy?
4.
Councillor Hall?
4.
Councillor Patterson?
4.
Councillor Pinnock?
4.
Scott?
4.
And Councillor Stockwell?
4.
So that's carried.
That's carried unanimously. Right, next, page 115, you will have noticed that we've got 3 applications all for the same site. Fazana will be speaking to it, but as there's 3 applications, we will have to take a vote on each specific application. So, Fazana, if you're there.
Thank you, Chair.
Hi, Fazana, it's all yours.
Thank you. All 3 application sites are located at Cartworth Moor, Holmfirth, which form a group of quarries known as Hill House Edge. On this aerial view, you can see Cartworth. Yes.
There's nothing showing on the screen. You need to just share your screen so that members can see it.
Okay. If you just bear with me, I'll just set it up. just trying to share, councillors.
Yeah.
Close all this. Where's Olivia gone? Sorry, councillors, there's just some technical fault with my computer. I'm getting assistance in a few minutes.
Yeah.
If you can't share.
Right.
Right, Fazana, we've got it.
Thank you, Chair. So all three application sites are located at Cartworth Moor, Holmfirth, which form a group of quarries known as Hill House Edge. As you can see from this aerial view, these are the three application sites. I'll go on to them in a minute. The Cartworth Cricket Pavilion lies northwest of the quarries here, and a poultry farm southeast of the sites here, as shown on the aerial view. Item 12 on the agenda relates to this area marked as P for proposed. This application is submitted in full and seeks permission for a northward extension from the existing quarries here for mineral extraction and restoration within this area. Item 13 on the agenda is for a variation of condition 3 on a previous 2015 permission, which relates to this area identified as N, and for the purpose of this presentation will be referred to as the Northern Quarry. Item 14 is for a variation of condition 3 on a previous 2013 permission, which relates to this area identified as S, and for the purpose of this presentation will be referred to as the Southern Quarry. Both items 13 and 14 are submitted under Section 73 applications, which under the scheme of delegation normally do not need to be determined at committee. However, if members approve the proposed extension of the quarry northwards, it would impact on and require variations to the previously approved working programme and restoration scheme of the adjacent northern and southern quarries. These are therefore brought to committee to give members a full picture of the proposals on all three quarries. From this aerial view, you can see the extent of the existing operational quarries here, all of which are served by a purpose-built access along here onto Cartworth Moor Road. Starting with the proposed quarry extension application, this is allocated as a minerals preferred area on the Kirklees local plan, as shown here, therefore acceptable in principle. The application is brought to committee as the site area exceeds 0.5 of a hectare. Moving to the northern and southern quarries, the purple markings here and here indicate both quarries are located as mineral extraction areas on the Kirklees local plan. This slide also shows both these quarries are also waste safeguarded areas on the Kirklees local plan. This plan shows all three quarries and identifies the current situation on site. Just to give members a breakdown. So mineral extraction is continuing in the northern quarry, that's this part here, and is close to exhaustion. The southern quarry here has been partially backfilled, this bottom end, and restored back to agricultural use. This area here remains to be infilled. The central part of the overall quarry accommodates store sheds and where the processing of minerals occur and stockpiling. This area will not be affected by the current applications. Section 3 of the committee report for the extension quarry sets out in detail how it is proposed to extend into this area from the northern quarry, which will need to follow the sequence and phasing as shown on this plan. This will involve moving the ramp from the western edge centrally into the northern quarry, which will allow excavation to be extended into the northward proposed quarry, following the phases as shown on this plan. Overburden and reject stone over and above that required to form the access ramps will then be used to backfill and restore the remaining void on the southern quarry, previously shown to you and as shown in green on this plan. Soil stripped from the proposed extension area will be placed on the surface of the backfill to bring the whole of this southern quarry back into agricultural use. This plan will replace the previously approved land level restoration scheme under the 2 variation of condition applications and also form part of the proposed quarry extension. This plan also indicates the final land levels that will be achieved. To summarise, the report before members covers Greenbelt local amenity, noise, dust, highway and environmental issues. Mineral extraction operations for the proposed quarry will be in line with the current time of the adjacent northern and the southern quarries to cease mineral extraction by the 31st of December 2028, but final restoration to be completed by the 31st of December 2030. That's just before the proposed quarry extension. The proposals are policy compliant and therefore recommended for approval as set out in the committee reports to be delegated back to officers to complete the conditions and issue the permission. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Rosanna. We've got no speakers on this, so members, it's over to you. Councillor Pinnock.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm certainly in support of this because it goes some way to safeguard the supply of high quality stone. I went up there yesterday, and one of the things that strikes you about this part of Kirklees is that except in that location where there are some straight roads, most of the roads in that area are not straight and are actually quite narrow. So the thought occurred to me, and I suppose a comment from Highways might help, is how is the stone from this site to be taken away from the site? Because my journey back towards Holmfirth involved some quite steep bits, and particularly at the end where you come into the town centre. Now, is that the route that these heavy lorries are taking, or is it somewhere else? It just occurred to me that if there wasn't a condition already in existence, which there may well be, that we ought to consider that. I'm assuming that because there is a facility on site to do the dressing of the stone, that we are not talking about huge, great blocks being taken out and therefore need very large lorries. I think I'd just like some clarification on that, but otherwise I would like to agree with officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Andrew. I'm not sure whether else leaving site or not, but Chris from Highways.
Thank you. So, thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. Yeah, I think there is a condition on one of the previous permissions that says that, but basically the vehicles are routing to the south to keep them away from Holmfirth. As you said, the road network around there is quite, well, very rural and quite, and so there is a routing strategy for vehicles to the approach and leave to the south down Cartworth Moor Road, and I think from memory the routing then goes down Whitegate Road, Linshaw Road, over towards Penistone Road, so it's routed away from to the south from the site. And I think, I mean, Fazana might be able to confirm that, but I think there's a there already is a condition on the original permission saying that.
That's very helpful. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Kathy Scott.
Yeah, mine was actually the highways question. Some of it's been answered, but I wondered if it had been conditioned previously, and because this is an extension to a site, was there any contribution towards the highways or, the community in this?
Through you, Chair, do you want me to answer that? That is a little. I know where you're coming from, and I dealt with some of these applications right back in 2013, I think it was, and Cartworth Moor Road has got in parts in a bad condition, and I did ask for a condition for contributions to maintain that through the life of for it to be assessed and maintained, and that was a condition on one of the original permissions. Now, I don't know if it's the applicant of this quarry or the applicant of one of the other quarries next to it appealed that condition and won, so that condition was removed. So we haven't tried to impose it since we lost an appeal against it. But I agree that the lorries from those quarries do damage, particularly Cartworth Moor Road, the southern end of it. But we did try to impose a condition back in whenever it was, 2013, I think. I mean, the planning officer may know the exact dates, but I remember the appeal on that, and we actually lost the appeal. So since then, we haven't actually tried to impose that condition again.
Chair, can I come back? Is that something that officers can find out for us? Because I'm happy to support it. I think there's a need for it, but equally, I think that we have to be clear that we have to keep our infrastructures, and we're in times where burdens on councils. We can't pay for these costs, ongoing costs. So I think it's something that we should look into.
Definitely.
That.
Fazana.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify on the heavy goods vehicle routing, previously that has been considered. The overall site, the Hill House Edge, has got a very complex history, as you can see from the historical application information in the committee report. The current application is to extend into the northern quarry, northwards. It's not likely to increase heavy goods vehicle movements over and above what's previously been approved, and that there will be a condition attached to that for no more than 8 in or 8 out a day. With regards to the routing, as I said, it has previously been considered, and the sites have been operating without any concerns or objections that have been reported. With regards to the appeal referred to by Chris Dowes, that was on an adjacent site at Windy Ridge Quarry. The applicant did appeal the highway contributions, and the appeal was actually allowed by the inspector. It wasn't considered necessary for those improvements or highway contributions, but it wasn't actually on this site. It was one next to it. It was just to confirm that, really. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Susanna. Councillor Bellamy.
Thank you, Chair. Fazana's actually answered my question, because it was, is there going to be an increase in the amount of lorries or wagons going to and from the site? Because I've also got concerns with the highway side of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed, I've seen you move your hand. I don't know if you wanted to speak or not.
No, I didn't. I'm just fidgeting, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Bill, thanks. Councillor Scott.
Bill.
Yeah, Chair, I just want to, these are just thoughts that I'm having. I'm happy for this application. However, there might not be increased vehicle use. However, there's increased years of more impact on them roads by these vehicles. So that's what we need to be thinking about.
Yeah. I've got to say, I think when you look at size of some of these vehicles, you've got to look at something over years to come, serious wear and tear on these roads, as we're having a assessment done on roads in Etmond, which is just cars and buses. Right. Yeah. Fazana, Matthias.
Thank you, Chair.
First.
Yeah, cheers. Fazana will come in and back me up, I'm sure. I hear what the committee is saying about the wear and tear on our network and the need to maintain our infrastructure. There are limitations in terms of what we can and can't ask for in terms of planning obligations, and often the existing highway network, unless you can clearly identify that it was the wagons that dealt with the issue and therefore make a relevant connection to it, it is a difficult one to meet the tests, because the Highway Authority has an obligation to maintain that existing network. What we often do is secure conditions for things like mud to be cleared off the highway by sweepers and things like that. But in terms of the general upkeep of the existing network, that does unfortunately seem to fall to the local highway authority and the council therein. So it is something we have looked at before. We have tried it. And it is a difficult one to be able to secure on a regular basis. But I hear where you're coming from, Councillor Scott, and I share the concern that we've got to look after our infrastructure as it ages and takes more demand. But I don't know if it's the planning system that is able to deal with the existing network. Sorry to have to set that out. I hope that helps anyway, Chair. Thank you.
No.
Right. Rosanna?
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm everything Matthias has said is accurate. Just to touch on the point by Councillor Scott about the concerns over the quarrying operations over a period of a number of years. Now, the extent permissions on the northern and the southern quarry, for those minerals extraction should cease by December 2028. The proposed extension to the Northwood Quarry is also for mineral extraction to cease for the same time, 31st of December 2028. The only increase in time will be the 2 years for the restoration beyond that for the northern proposed quarry extension. So it's really the restoration 2 years beyond all the quarries. Thank you, Chair.
Fair enough.
Right. Any more for any more? Kathy?
Yeah, I hear that, and I do accept it, but I do think that you're talking, is it 7 years ago when they appealed the decision? I do think it is something that we should be talking to people for a contribution, even if it's to a community, because you're talking about a cricket field nearby, local amenities. So there must be an element, if you times that by the value of extraction, the amount of money, I think a small contribution would have been in order.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think everybody's at the same frame of mind on this one. And I would like it noting about what we've spoken about this afternoon. And for officers or legal to start looking into stuff like that. Right.
So can I move it, Chair?
You can, if you, yes.
I'll second that.
Right, thank you. So we'll move to a vote.
Sorry, it's Deborah Wilkes here, legal officer. We're not. We've discussed the possibility for contribution, and officers have explained that it's historical wear and tear. Yeah. So that's not part of this vote.
No.
Just a note.
But I think it's just something that I think we need to know for, further meetings, if and when it rears its little head again. Right, Andrea.
Okay, then to vote on the officer's recommendation. Councillor Armour?
With reservations, but yes, I'm for it.
Councillor Bellamy?
For, with reservations.
For.
Councillor Patterson?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
Councillor Scott?
For.
And Councillor Sokol?
For.
That's carried, Chairman. Thank you.
Right. Next, it's the application on page 131. Same process again. Need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move it, Chair.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So, yet again, Andrea.
Straight to vote. Councillor Armour?
I'm for.
Councillor Bellamy?
For.
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 Councillor Patterson?
For.
Pinnock?
For.
Scott?
For.
Councillor Sokol.
For.
Carried. Okay, and then item 14.
And then item 14, page 141. Mover and a seconder.
I'll move it, Chair.
Thanks, Carol.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We'll go to a vote. Andrea.
Again, on the officer's recommendation, Councillor Harmer.
My apologies, I was muted. I'm for it.
Thanks, Bill.
Councillor Bellamy.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Pinnock.
For.
Scott.
For.
Councillor Sokol.
For.
Okay, it's carried again.
Thank you for that. Next item, page 151, and it's Fazana again, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. The application is for the change of use and regrading of land to form car park and seating area at Boot and Shoe Inn, St George's Road, Scholes. The application is brought to Strategic Committee at the request of Councillor Firth, who states there is a lack of public parking to serve the pub since the new build on St George's Road. The site is located to the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn at Scholes, as indicated by the orange arrow on the aerial photo shown here. As can be seen, there are open fields north and east of the site with residential dwellings located to the south and northwest. Immediately to the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn is a small car park. The application is unallocated in the local plan but located within an area of Greenbelt. The proposals are for the land within the application site to be regraded from the existing car park here, sloping down to the parcel of land to the east, to create a new car park area to accommodate 6 vehicles and cycle bays with a seating area for customers beyond, which is shown to be separated by a post and wire fence with a gated access as shown here. To the south of the new car park, a 1.5 metre acoustic embankment is to be created with new landscaping and planting. A 1.8 metre close border timber acoustic fence is also to be erected along part of the southern boundary here. Consultee responses are set out in full in the committee report. Matters raised by consultees have either been addressed or can be by condition, other than concerns raised by environmental health officers. Their concerns are that the proposals will be introducing a noise source into a quiet area, mainly from the seating area, which would cause disturbance and loss of amenity to neighbouring residents, most specifically to the upper floors of the dwellings. Environmental health officers' advice is that the proposed acoustic fencing to part of the boundary would prove ineffective. Even if the height of the fence was raised, this would then lead to further loss of amenity, i.e. light, to those properties. And from environmental officers' experience, these concerns cannot be addressed by the proposed mitigation measures nor by controlling hours of use. There has been 43 objections and 97 representations received in support, details of which are set out in section 7 of the committee report. One further late representation was received raising land ownership issues. This is referred to and addressed in the committee update. In addition, further concerns from a local resident have been forwarded to the case officer yesterday through Councillor Paul Davis. The concerns relate to a marquee stated to have been erected in the existing car park since July this year and last used on 10th of October between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. The local resident has requested that members be made aware that customers using the marquee exhibited noisy behaviour, including use of inappropriate language. The local resident states this is very troubling, particularly as the landlord has promised in the application to control noise levels and respect neighbours. If I can just run through some photos of the site now. This photograph to the left shows views out from the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn looking east across the site. This is a parcel of land of where the car park and seating area is proposed. This photograph to the right shows existing access from St George's Road down to the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn. No changes are proposed to the existing access. This photo on the left shows the proximity of residential dwellings on St George's Road to the application site. The nearest residential dwelling on St George's Road is located approximately 10 metres away from the proposed car park. This photograph to the right shows neighbouring properties on Ravens Way, the nearest residential dwelling with the potential to be impacted by the proposals to the rear of the pub is number 16 Ravens Way. This dwelling backs onto the application site with a separation distance of approximately 2.5 metres from the rear elevation to the southern boundary of the application site. This neighbouring property is 2 stories in height, and given the topography of St George's Road, number 16 sits at a much lower ground level than the application site. It is important to note that there are a number of windows within the rear elevation of number 16, most specifically bedroom windows at first floor level. The garden amenity area for this property would also be located directly adjacent to the proposed seating area. This photograph to the left shows the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn. However, part of the site, part of the building to the right is owned by the Scholes Post Office. This photograph to the right shows a Whitegate cottage. Shows number 1 Whitegate Cottage, which is located directly adjacent to the existing access road into the rear of the Boot and Shoe Inn car park. In summary, the proposed development would introduce a new noise source into a quiet area of Scholes. This noise source would be particularly harmful to the living conditions of the occupants of the existing neighbouring properties. Officers are of the opinion the proposed acoustic fencing and embankment would not address nor overcome the harm that would be caused to the occupants of the neighbouring residential properties by the proposed nature of use of the site, contrary to policy LP 24B of the Kirklees Local Plan and paragraph 127 of the MPPF. It is therefore recommended for refusal in accordance with the reasons set out in the committee report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Fazana. We've got no speakers. Officers, colleagues, it's over to you. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the officer for the comprehensive report there that we've got on this. I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation, so I'm supporting that we refuse this application.
Thanks, Scotty. Councillor Pinnock.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I went to see this site yesterday and can confirm all of that. I also now come to look at the plans in a bit more detail. It's not clear to me how this would be advantageous to the pub, because it introduces a seating area which is quite a long way from the pub, and I just don't see how it's going to work. I totally agree with the officer's recommendation. It does occur to me whether a reason for taking a bit of the green belt that we shouldn't be doing might be added to this, but officers can perhaps say why they might have thought of that and decided not to. But otherwise, I will second the motion to refuse.
Thanks, Andrew. Councillor Bellamy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can sort of see both sides of this. I can understand why the pub would want extra outside space, especially in the conditions that we're in at the moment, because it seems to be easier to socially distance people outside. I am a bit concerned though about wanting extra parking. Does this pub actually do food? Because I don't think really you should be driving to the pub anyway to actually have a drink. but yet again, if it was for, you know, food, then that's totally different. So I'm a bit torn on this one, because I do know what vehicles are, you know, there are up in that area, and the road gets very, very full and very parked up, with it being so sort of tight round there, and nobody seems to have any parking. So I'm a bit torn on this one at the moment.
Right, thanks, Donna. Councillor Pattison.
I'm excuse me, I'm in the same place as Donna in some ways. Listening to the people, more in support of it than against it. There's obviously already drinking outside and car parking outside, so I'm not sure that the noise levels will be added to. So the reasons for not granting it on the grounds of noise is a bit, well, I don't think that really necessarily stacks up. But having said that, sort of extending right through to the green space, which is green belt, yes, and that's a bit, and also just the thought, I mean, I can't really actually see that food will be taken all across the car park down to the seating area, or even drinks for that matter. And as Donna says, I don't think people should be driving to the pub. So it's, well, I think I'm happy to support the officer's recommendations that it shouldn't be accepted, but I don't really think on the grounds of noise is the right grounds. So I might abstain on this.
All right, thanks, Gavin. Councillor Armour.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Councillor Scott and Pattison, I'm very conflicted on this. The hospitality trade is taking an absolute hammering at the moment. We do need to keep the rural economy going, and rural pubs are part of that economy. And I do take the point that one driver could have 3 or 4 passengers, so the driver's not necessarily drinking. We've got to look at the economic side of it. We've also got to look at the residential amenity side of it. And I've tried tossing a coin and it came down on its edge. So I think actually I will probably be abstaining on this one. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Bill. I'll go to Moan and then to Matthias.
Chair, I haven't been on the site visit, but I agree with the Councillor Andrew Pinnick, who have been on the site. We never miss any application on site visit. I believe him, but I know the area very well. I'm not going back to say my recollection of bus driver. But I know that I used to run those buses. I'm not going to mention that. But
but
think,
you did.
But I know the area very well. It's very narrow road over there where the boot and shoe pub is. Yeah, and I agree with the Councillor Andrew Pinnick, who say the proposed area for seating is away from the pub actually. So what's the advantage is to the pub? And another thing, I was looking into the objector and sporter. 97 sporter and 43 there objector. I can't see there are nearly 200 people living around the area. 97 those sporters might never live around the area. They must be. They are what they call customer who signed the petition. That's all. So I actually support the officer recommendation. I think it's already moved and second by Andrew and Kathy, so I support that.
Right,
officer recommendation. Sorry.
Right, Kathy.
Yeah, I just want to be clear of the reason why the refusal that I recommended and agree with the officers is normally within a pub, you're dealing with your clientele within your own curtilage. This is going beyond. And it is going to impact on residents. And that is why I'm clear. I'm not wavering. I'm absolutely agree with what officers said. It's outside the curtilage. It will impact on residents around there. We don't live there. They do.
Thanks, Kathy. Matthias.
Yeah, very quickly. Thank you, Chair. I think the debate's been fantastic and very balanced. There are, as Councillor Armour said, clear reasons to support local businesses and the economy, but we've got to look after our residents as well. And the relationship of the layout combined with the comings and goings, we just didn't think we could control it with planning conditions. And therefore, we always want to protect our residents, but we want to support local businesses. If they can think of something that overcomes these concerns and they employ noise consultants, we're always open to have another conversation. But on the face of these plans, they're not right and they need to be revisited. And we are going into winter, so there's plenty of time for this business to have another think about what they're aiming to achieve and do some more assessment to support that and maybe come back with something else. But on the face of the discussion, I haven't got anything further to add. Thank you very much, committee and chair.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthias. Just before we go to a vote, I just want to flag something up that Councillor Davis mentioned, and that were a marquee. You know, I mean, I've got every sympathy with businesses like this, especially in this climate, but you know, let's keep within the law and not shoot off doing whatever we feel like when we want to suit ourselves. So
yes,
this has been
it was there
moved
yesterday, Chair. It was there and in use. Well, sort of in use. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Andrew. Katie Chew.
Hi, through you, Chair. Sorry, just to add to that, the marquee situation is with planning enforcement at the moment, so we haven't forgotten about it. It's
Right.
there in the background.
That makes it a little bit even more easier to vote now. Right. This has been moved by Councillor Cathy Scott, seconded by Councillor Pinnock, and that is to back up officers' recommendation to refuse. So I'll go over to Andrea and we'll do a vote.
Councillor Armour.
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Councillor Bellamy.
Abstain.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Patterson. Councillor Patterson.
It's on mute.
Abstain, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Pinnock.
For.
Councillor Scott.
For.
Councillor Sokol.
For.
Okay, so that's 4 votes to refuse and 3 abstentions. The application's refused.
So that one's just got through by the skin of his teeth for refusal. That, colleagues, is it for today. So we'll do a countdown of 30 seconds and then we're switching off. So we're still live. So
I'll mute.
well, Richard's going to mute everybody and then thank you and I'll see you next time. I've got the agenda through by the by for next meeting.